Okay, first one. So, how was your experience in France? Like, what do you remember? You left France at 8, right?
I left France at 8. So the first 2 years I was in France. Then we were in Qatar for 3 years. But then I came back from 5 to 8, which is obviously the part of France I remember most. I remember school. I remember the boulangeries, and how delicious that was. I remember all the candy and the chocolate. I remember a lot, man. I remember playing basketball in Bourgogne
Okay.
with my brothers. You know, that was we lived pretty close to there. I remember, walking around with my father. There's a lot I remember. I remember, obviously Champs-Élysées and all the really memorable spots. I remember, and then obviously there's still, although I don't speak it well, I understand the language pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's stuck with me. But yeah, no, it's definitely a lot I remember. I remember school lunch being really good. I remember getting to America.
Better than in the US?
Yeah, oh, so much better. Like, I remember getting to the US and being like, this is what they're feeding us at school. Like, this is terrible.
And is there like something that really stuck with you? Like from France?
I do remember, this was one of my earliest realizations, was that education was a lot better here. Because I remember the math I was doing in the 2nd grade here, I didn't start doing it till the 5th grade in New York.
Wow.
And yeah, even that young, I remember realizing, like, looking at my classmates, like, wait, you know what I mean? You guys haven't done this
You're
yet?
bugging.
Yeah, you're bugging. Or even writing in script, Like, I learned to write in script here, like the first grade or the 2nd grade. Like, you almost learn that.
Super early on.
Super early, yeah. We didn't start writing in script till like the 6th grade or something. Like,
wow.
when I got to New York, So I was young. Now I understand, obviously, education a lot better and like how the whole system works. But even when I was young, I remember feeling like I was a little bit ahead in a sense.
Okay. And would you say that even if it was early on in your life, it still has an influence on your music?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously a few of the producers I work with are from here. One of my earliest music memories is buying Daft Punk's Discovery.
Okay.
Like, with my own money. That was one of the first albums. Like, you get a lot of stuff. I have 4 older siblings, so they gave me a lot of their music. But I remember seeing One More Time on Cartoon Network, like Toonami, seeing the video, and then watching Interstellar 555, and like falling in love with Daft Punk, and then going into more French house and things of that nature. And obviously my brother and all the music he put me onto. So yeah, for sure. I think that has a big effect on my sound selection now.
Okay.
And my beat selection now is different than most.
It's more wide?
Yeah, it's definitely it's wider, and it borrows from a lot of European influences. And even the guys I work with here, like, it's all about a good mix. It sounds like French house inspired, but then it might have some trap drums and hi-hats and all the things that could, for the people that don't listen to this,
yeah,
and for these people that don't listen to that, they could meet somewhere in the middle and be like, oh, I like this, I dig this.
Yeah. Okay. And you're a fan of the PSG, right?
Yeah, that's my squad.
You think they have like a chance to win the Champions League this year?
Man, is Cavani balling? I haven't followed too much. I was a little worried.
Cavani is doing good right now.
He's doing good. Okay,
yeah.
When Ibra left, I was like, man, who's gonna man the post for him? I haven't gotten to follow too much this year, but it's obviously, if Barcelona's in the Champions League, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick against them.
PSG is your favorite team?
Ooh.
PSG.
Yeah, for sure. Man City's been looking pretty good.
Guardiola's doing a great job
over there, right? He's got them looking really good. I think they just beat Barcelona like a few weeks ago, right?
Exactly.
So it's tough. I always root for PSG. I'm always rooting for them, but they got smoked last year.
True.
They got smoked last year. I still see that. Was it David Luiz when who was it that Suarez ran him down?
Oh yeah.
Oh God, that hurt to watch. That hurt to watch, man.
That was painful, right?
That was so painful. It was like, you didn't have to do it like that, man. You didn't have to do it that way.
Be easy on them.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm always rooting for them, though, obviously.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you spent the last 2 years on the road, right?
Yeah.
Practically. So just dealing with like a new fan, but also I assume that like everybody, you have personal issues. And like, how did your state of mind has changed from last winter from Too High to High?
Yeah, I think it's more self-reflective on this album. Last winter was the beginning for me of making a living off of rap, and all the pluses that come from this life, and all the luxuries you're afforded. And so it's me like jumping in head first and being like, wow, this is fun, this is exciting, this is all those things, this is new.
Mm-hmm.
And then Too High to Ride is kind of the ride since then, and all the stuff that's new isn't so new anymore. And then you realize that and time keeps ticking, so everything else that's going wrong or that you're forgetting about, that you're neglecting, is still happening. So Too High to Ride is kind of that. It's me kind of reflecting on those moments and trying to come out of this bubble of this like rap life fantasy fairy tale, and give more thought and attention to the realer issues in my life, and in society in general, to a point.
Yeah, and it helps people connect with your music too.
Right, exactly.
Because they feel the same way or experience the same thing.
Right. The more vulnerable you make yourself, which is something I wasn't able to do as well on last winter, is mainly because of maybe I feel like I lacked the confidence. I thought like, okay, like my fan base wants this, my fan base wants that. With Too High to Ride, it was like I had gone on the road, I had built a lot of confidence, I had seen people sing my songs word for word, and you're like, okay, well they connect with me.
Yeah.
So I can be more open, I can be more honest, I can be more vulnerable.
They're ready to hear the real you.
Right, exactly. So I was able to do that with Too High to Ride, and it's had an incredible effect, obviously, like on my career and on my fan base, and on the respect I get from my peers. It's done all of those things for me. So it's just like a lesson. Like it felt like a gamble at first. It felt like a gamble, but it paid off tremendously.
It was necessary.
Yeah, it was very necessary for sure.
Yeah. And you spoke early on about moving from New York City to Queens, and the influence.
You mean Paris to Queens?
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were on 42nd and then Queens.
No, my dad worked on 42nd.
Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry about that.
But that's Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn. It's all one thing,
So you spoke about the other artists from Queens being an influence on you, like by being a lyricist and everything.
Yeah.
So who would be your main influence coming from that borough? Or from the city in general?
I would say Nas, Jay-Z, and 50. Like and Big. Can't forget Biggie. Big Pun. That would be like my top 5 from New York right there. I think they all cover different things. Like Nas to me just paints like such vivid pictures. Like he had you feeling like he had the whole world feeling like they were in Queensbridge with him. And then Hov is like the ultimate champion. Like he's inspiring in that regard. And Biggie is just the most charismatic dude to me to ever pick up a mic. Like that's something that I really enjoy about him, and that I like to try to, I would like to almost emulate in a sense. Is when Biggie's rapping, you kind of feel like he's just talking to you, like you're having this conversation. But you also feel like he's the coolest nigga in the room, So they all did something very different that I really admire.
Okay, and it's funny because you really rap New York hard, but at the same time your sound doesn't sound typically New York.
Right.
So how would you describe your music, your sound, your style?
I think my sound has a lot of global influences, because even though I was raised in New York, there's parts of my history and my upbringing that are based in Paris, that are based in Sudan, that are I've been traveling my whole life and taking in those influences, and my older siblings have been taking in those influences and passing them on to me. But I do think it's interesting because I think the problem with New York rap is that it's supposed to sound like New York rap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as if you're not supposed to push it forward. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what the sounds are. I feel like my stories are of New York, are from New York. So then, no matter what I do, is New York rap.
It's New York.
Yeah, and actually, what New York rap needs the most is sounds that are gonna inspire and influence the rest of the game, as opposed to sounds that most people are like over. You know, I'm not gonna say over because I'm still a fan of it. And we all still enjoy it, but it doesn't feel progressive.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel new. You know, and music has to continuously feel new. You go to, Atlanta or, even a lot of stuff coming out of Toronto, a lot of that feels new. That's how they've moved to the forefront of the game. So I think that's kind of what's lacking in New York. You can't try to sound like New York rap. You have to create something new.
You feel like it's coming back?
I do. I think there's like a lot of good artists coming out of the city. I'm rooting for any and everyone that's coming out of the city, honestly.
What's your favorite genre right now out of New York?
That's a good one. I like the Young M.A. records. I really like her. She doesn't get enough credit for how good of a rapper she is.
She spits.
That's what I'm saying. Like I like obviously like anyone else, I heard her on the Ooh record.
Mm-hmm.
But like I clicked like a few freestyles. I think she was on radio.
On the Quiet Storm joint.
Yo, whoa, bodied that.
She
You know what I
killed
mean? She killed that. So that's dope, man. It's good to see like the balance. You know, New York finding balance of like, all right, we're still lyricists, but we can make these kind of songs too.
True. And just speaking about your choice of beats and everything, how do you pick your beats?
Man, that's interesting. I would say I like a vibe, an emotion, you know? I like for the beat to dictate where the content is gonna go. You know, like I have a song called Live For that's produced by OG Hands, who's a Parisian producer. And I speak about my aunt passing away, you know, and I wrote it to that beat. He came to my house in LA and made that beat, and I just came and I sat with him and I started writing that song because the emotion is in the music, you know. You then just have to find a way to convey a message that sonically and your words, you know, they can drive home the point. So it all kind of depends on the mood. Or even Clouds Never Get Old, which is another song that OG produced. You know, it's very bouncy and kind of like some player shit. It's like some smooth player shit. So I'm going to talk about shit I've done on the road with girls and experiences I've had with women in my life in the past few years or whatever the case may be. So mainly I'm looking for an emotion, you know. Okay. It has to have an emotion in the music.
So you just say you also sat with the producer and talk with him and deal with him. So would you take part in the production process too of the song? Like,
yeah, no, for sure. I don't play, but I usually come. Yeah, they'll play stuff like even with there's a song called Penthouse on my album that Ron produced, but I had the sample. I found the sample. I usually like to come with samples, you know, or even Lit. When we did Lit, me and Said, I had that sample. I was like, yo, this sample, let's flip this Miguel record. And then obviously you want to let the producers, you know, express their creativity. But I know that if I have a sample, then part of the sonic landscape is already there, you know, and part of the emotion that I'm looking for is already there. So there's a few records where I'll come with a sample, and then obviously with every song, when we go into post-production, I sit with Ron, and he'll play bass lines, and maybe he'll be like, all right, you know, let me get something that moves a little more, and he'll play something that moves a little more, or, you know, let's add some bottom to this, or let's add, you know, whatever the case may be. I'm definitely very involved in the process sonically.
So do you feel more comfortable working with like in-house production or even external people?
Yeah, I think I can collaborate with anyone. it's been in-house mainly because, you know, I don't feel like we've reached our peak. You know, I've seen every project we do, I've seen improvements in how we grow together as a unit. And that kind of excites me because most of my favorites, you know, it's 50-50. It's the production and it's the artist and the songwriting that comes from that. So you want to, the more you work with people, the more the chemistry builds, the less things have to be even said. Like take the Hicks even, who I met them like when I was working on Too High to Ride, and we did 2 songs for that. And the first song we did was like the first night we met each other, you know. And the second song we did was Matches, and there was a world of a difference there already between Ricochet and Matches. So it's like, I know the next song we do, or the next time we lock in for the studio, right? Because we're more comfortable with each other as artists and as friends. You know, I could tell them like, man, I've been thinking about these problems I have, and they're gonna be like, all right, we can build off of that, whatever the case may be. So it's harder to do with someone you don't know. Obviously, it's harder to even it's harder to tell them that you don't like that idea. As much, you know what I mean? So it's just much easier, like when you build that chemistry.
When you have a relationship with someone.
Right. There's no egos to bruise. It's just like, nah, I don't like that. Or even like when I work with Cole, you know, or when I work with Kaz, or anybody on the label, even rap-wise, like, we're so comfortable with each other. We'd be like, yo, you know, I love the first 12 bars. The last 4, you could finish better.
Yeah.
You know, rewrite those last 4, whatever the case may be. And no one feels insulted because...
they want to take it to the top. So.
Right, exactly. Everyone is on the same page.
It's excellence.
Right, exactly. Everyone's on the same page. It's not about egos. It's about, let's make the best music we can make. I'm going to be mad if you're not honest with me.
True.
You know, don't let me put out no whack shit.
It's not gonna help you.
yeah. Don't let me put out no whack shit. So yeah, that's why we've been so in-house, I think, because the chemistry's been so good.
So let's say some French people read this interview and they want to send you some beats.
Yeah.
Where they can send them at.
Yeah, it's actually the letter D.
Okay.
At dreamville.com.
Okay.
That's
simple.
He's the big homie. That's Derek. That's D. He kind of, you know, me and him is like another guy. Like he doesn't make the music, but he knows what I like. He knows the sounds I like. I've known him since freshman year of high school, you know, and we're into the same music. So it's like he's like the first level. You gotta penetrate the shield.
The final boss.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, and so you met J. Cole at the university, right?
Yeah. So he went to school with my brother. And then they went to school at St. John's University, which is like pretty much in my backyard.
Okay.
So we had a lot of mutual friends. You know, we played like basketball at the same park. I used to throw a lot of house parties. He would come by, things of that nature. So I didn't even rap. You know, we were just friends back then.
Okay, so you were friends from the jump, from the start. Okay.
Yeah.
And so how is it working with your friends? Because sometimes it can be difficult.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say it was never difficult. I think in the beginning, we were all in a place, them and myself, where for them it's like, damn, do we like Boss's music because he's the homie? Or is he really that good? And for me, it's like, am I that good? Or do they fuck with me because I'm the homie? You know, but then I think around the time I put out my second mixtape, Quarter Water Raise Me, Volume 2, Cole had finished Born Sinner. He hadn't put it out yet, but he was playing it for people, and like he went to play Born Sinner for Salam Remy. I don't know if you know Salam.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he and then he was like, "Yo, I'm messing with this kid from Queens. I want to play you a couple songs," and he played him some of my second mixtape, and Salam was the first dude that wanted to sign me. You know?
Wow.
Yeah, like. Even before, like for Cole, it was just like, you're the homie, I'm gonna bring you along, whatever you can make happen, make it happen. But that was the first time where we had like outside people that we really respect be like, oh, this kid's dope, let's fuck with it, you know? That kind of changed things.
Did you work with him?
No, I want to though. I will.
Like
he's
crazy.
So dope, man. He's so dope. I haven't had the time to really get outside in a core group of guys, mainly because all the music I make a lot of it is on the road. And you know, the guys on the road with me is Cedric and Ron. And
yeah, it's easier. It's like
it's
right
a lot
away.
easier. It's a lot easier.
Like you need the time to go to Miami, sit with him.
Right.
And
But I want to, after I finish out this album, which is really this tour, I now have some time to really go and sit with people that really inspire me, and Salam is definitely one of them.
Who would be the others?
Man, I have a list on my phone. Let me see. I have a wish list for this album. It's a lot of obscure stuff. Let me see what I have on here. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, there's this producer from Copenhagen. His name's Galimatius. I like him. I want to work with Tricky Stewart, who did a lot of the Dream. I really like his stuff. Clams Casino, Penthouse, Shlomo.
Shlomo is super dope.
Yeah, I write stuff down that I know. Like, all right, when I get time off.
It's funny because it's super diverse. Like it's really representative of you and your music, but it goes like different genre of music.
Right.
Because even Salam can do any genre.
Exactly. So it's like when I write these things down, people that inspire me, and I'm just waiting for enough time off to be like, okay, these next 2 months, I'm gonna do a week here, a week here, a week here, a week here. And
are you hyped to do that?
Yeah, I've never been able to. I'm now in a place where, A, I have more resources. B, I have a lot more respect for my peers, which is important because you don't want to work with people unless you're mutually inspired.
True.
I don't want some producer to come to my session and be like, I got to do this session with this guy because my label said so.
And same for you.
Yeah, and same
go
for
to
me.
the session.
Right, exactly. It's got to be like, yo, I like his shit, and even if they don't know my shit, they can look it up and be like, oh, A, this is dope, and B, this guy's moving, he's doing stuff, he's touring, this isn't a waste of my time. I have more of that confidence now. There's no one that I feel like I can't approach and be like, yo, I'm a fan, I want to work with you.
Yeah.
Whereas in before, it was more so about proving myself first and standing on my own too and being like, all right, look, like I can do this shit, I'm dope.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it feels more like I can approach it more on a peer level and just be like, look, I respect your work. Let's get in the studio.
Okay, and speaking of Cole, like he's one of the biggest rap star right now.
Yeah.
So many eyes, Dreamville, draw many attention.
Yeah.
And do you feel like pressure from that, or just like it inspires you to?
I don't feel, but like I've been here from the beginning of the Dreamville thing. So I think the beauty of it is working with someone like Cole, who only signed his record deal like 7 years ago. So when I did my deal with Interscope, and I walked in the building with Ebe and Cole to meet the whole staff and kind of give him the Dreamville vision. He told me this a million times, but he told them, like, look, we're not trying to play the singles radio game. Like, it's not going to be Dreamville. We want our artists to make albums that are going to touch people, whole albums, and go out on the road and tour. And
Get the foundation. And
and then he's like, it's going to take longer, but it's going to last
longer.
It's going to last longer, exactly. And they bought into that. And he knows that because, when Sideline Story was about to come out, they were telling him, we think it's going to sell 55,000 copies, and we're like, well, we've been on the road for 2 years and we've seen more than 55,000
fans. We've touched more people than that.
We've touched more people than that, but that doesn't show up, on the charts. That doesn't show up on the radio spins that you touching all these people and that your music speaks to their heart, it speaks to their mind, it connects with them on a deeper level than just a club or or what's popular.
Something they will forget.
Right, exactly. And not just that, it's something that makes them feel like they have to support. Like this. If I don't, it's almost like not voting in a sense. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're right.
And then the album came out and did like 200-something thousand first week, and everyone was like, "Well, how did that happen?" And everyone was shocked except us. So that's kind of the same way we feel now. Like, I remember when I was putting out Last Winter, that was the first time I was selling anything, and I had that done going into the deal. I had it done. I had been on the road for a while. I was like, all right, I gotta, I have to put this out. And I remember Interscope was like, well, ideally we'd want this to be your first album, but we know you're not gonna want to wait a year and a half, 2 years while we market you. So let's just sell it as as an album or whatever the case may be, instead of putting it out as a free mixtape and just putting you as on a different level and having your stuff available commercially. And I remember talking about, we don't want you to be discouraged. We think it might sell like 500 copies or whatever. I think the first week it did like 4,000 or 3,700. Wow. You know what I mean? Which is like, we didn't care about the numbers, but it speaks to our brand. You know, there's no metrics for it. It's hard to see our impact. Or even Too High to Riot. Like, I went out and we sold out a lot of shows. I get calls from promoters that tell me like, yo, there's bigger artists that I'm paying a lot more money than you that can't fill up this room the way you filled up this room,
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we've been getting those calls and emails like since we did the tour. Mm-hmm. So it's working how we planned it. You keep faith, you keep patience, you keep working, and those things will happen. Like I had the benefit of seeing it with Cole. I'm sure for them it was much more uncertainty because they were kind of blazing a path. But like, I'm bought in, and I think everyone on Dreamville has bought into that kind of philosophy of how we want to grow. We want to put out albums, like not singles. You know what I mean? If you put out a dope single, they might come see you in the club for 15 minutes, but they don't want to see you for an hour.
No.
You know what I mean?
They just want you to perform one song.
Yeah, they want to see one song. Whereas in, like, if you're here later, you're gonna see they're gonna know words. They're gonna know all the words to the whole album. Mm-hmm. That's what we want. Because that means that the music is connecting with them. It's the soundtrack to their lives. It's what they play it from front to back. True. So I don't feel the pressure because I know that my whole team believes the same. I don't have Cole like, where's the hit single? Yeah. I need the hit single. There's none of that. It's like, bro, he actually, when I feel like I want the hit single, he'll be the voice of reason to be like, bro, trust me, all that shit is coming. Just build your base. Worry about the base.
People are gonna pick the single.
Exactly. Don't worry. Like, if you keep building your base,
don't force it.
Right. Just keep building your base. What your base wants, and then every time you build it, it gets to the point where then radio can't deny it. You know what I mean? They have no choice but to play it. Like, look at a dude like Chance. He's independent and getting radio play because what he's done for his fan base, and now his fan base makes so much noise that you have to respect it, no matter who you are. So, the internet has changed a lot. You're not tied to radio. Doesn't make you, or you don't need certain magazines to make you. You can touch your fans directly.
True. And
they're gonna come out and they're gonna support.
Yes. And I have two more questions. Yeah. So the first one is Dreamville is kind of like, it's often compared to TD, and artists often works together from both camps.
Yeah.
You've been working a lot with Ab-Soul.
Yeah.
And do you have more projects or more songs coming with Ab-Soul or other artists from TD?
We just put out Braille, me and Soul. I'm sure we're gonna work more. He's obviously I'm in California now, so I see those homies all the time. They're all good dudes. I just met Isaiah Rashad at this event I did. He was real good dude. We exchanged info. I like his new album, so that wouldn't be out the realm. Like me and Zay linking up and doing some. Obviously Ali mixed my album. Yeah. He mixed Too High to Riot. I'm a fan of Dot. I'm a fan of a lot of the stuff they're doing over there, and they're all, kind of like-minded individuals.
You worked with Tay Beast yet?
No.
You should work with him.
Yeah.
It's dope.
Yeah, I want to.
It's very versatile too.
All right, cool. I'm gonna put that on the list.
You should put it on the list.
I'm gonna put it on my list right now. I have Ali and them link us up.
And the last question: what would be your dream collaboration, dead or alive?
Bob Marley.
Bob Marley?
Bob Marley, man. I did this festival in Quebec City like 2 years ago, and Snoop Dogg headlined it. And at the end of his show, his band just went into like a Bob Marley medley. And I was in this festival with like 50,000 people, and the energy was so positive, man. And I'm like, man, this dude was just like, he was making politically conscious, socially like aware music that was so fun.
True.
Which is usually the challenge, you know? A lot of times that music is like very deep and kind of drags you down a little bit. As much as we love it, it's soulful, you know? But there's a certain appeal to me of when, you know, you can have 50,000 people jumping around and, you know, screaming one love and all these things that are like really powerful messages. I would definitely say Bob, man. Bob would be the one.
Okay, he was the real director of vibes, right?
He really was. He was 100%. Like, he's the truth.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
I think